So let's make it very clear. The Afghan terrorists attacked these two shoulders because that is what Islam teaches. These potential terrorists are now living amongst us, residing in our neighborhoods, going to our kids' schools, and mooching off our taxpayers' benefits, while chanting Allahu Akbar. Make no mistake, this is part of the deep state's globalist agenda that aims to destroy this country through mass Islamic migration. They're doing whatever they can to turn our country into the third world hellhole that they came from. We are different. We want a great country, not a third world country. Turned into reality just a few weeks ago when a deranged jihadist shot two of our National Guardsmen just steps from the White House. Just before Thanksgiving, Specialist Sarah Backstrom and Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf were on patrol near the White House when they were attacked by a Biden-imported Afghan Islamist. A 29-year-old jihadist radically, viciously attacked them, killing Specialist Backstrom and leaving Staff Sergeant Wolf in critical condition. He's still fighting for his life today. Our prayers go out to him and his family. So let's make it very clear. The Afghan terrorists attacked these two shoulders because that is what Islam teaches. The Quran says to kill all infidels. That means all people who don't believe in Islam. So let's not mince words about this. Islamists want every single American, and especially Americans, they want them dead. In 2021, Joe Biden orchestrated the botched Afghan withdrawal, which was one of the most embarrassing days in our country's history. 13 American soldiers lost their lives as a direct result of the Biden's disastrous, misinformed leadership. Not to mention, he empowered the Taliban, who came crawling out of the hills to back control of Afghanistan. To make matters worse, Joe Biden then allowed more than 190,000, repeat that, 190,000 unvetted Afghans into this country, no questions asked. So, not to mention the more than $7 billion in equipment that was left behind for the Taliban, which is, by the way, is now showing up all over the world after it's been sold. These potential terrorists are now living amongst us, residing in our neighborhoods, going to our kids' schools, and mooching off our taxpayers' benefits. That withdrawal was an embarrassment and a stain on our country. The 29-year-old deranged terrorist who shot two National Guardsmen in D.C. was working with the CIA in Afghanistan and was part of an elite unit that was supposed to be helping fight our nation's enemies. Clearly, this person was deranged and should never have been allowed to work with our intelligence agencies or to come to the U.S., where he viciously attacked two American guardsmen. While chanting Allahu Akbar, make no mistake, this is part of the deep state's globalist agenda that aims to destroy this country through mass Islamic migration. Where's the outrage from the people in this chamber? I hadn't heard it. If we don't do something to stop this Islamic takeover of our country, we will soon be called the United Caliphate of America. If the previous administration prioritized protecting American citizens instead of inviting terrorists to our country, Sarah Backstrom may still be alive today. Thanks to President Trump, a travel ban has been placed on Afghans along with people from 18 other third world countries, including Somalia. And I've got a message to the immigrants from these Islamist countries. If you hate this country, refuse to go by our laws, and chant death to America, it's time to go home. There's a lot of good people that come from Middle Eastern countries and go by our laws and assimilate with our culture. But if you come here otherwise, it's time to go home. The Trump administration is also prioritizing the deportation of Afghans who are already here illegally. You know, I'm 100% behind President Trump's effort to rid of all the Islamists who hate our country, as I just previously said. Take advantage of the system when you come here. Don't defraud our government. Don't come here to try to destroy us. Assimilate with the Americans in this country to make our country better. We should be welcoming immigrants who are willing to assimilate with our culture and to contribute to our society. That's what we want. Being in this country is a privilege, not a right. If you're an immigrant coming to this country, you need to leave your old way of life and the traditions behind and come here and work with us. Unfortunately, many of the Islamists who are here are not doing that. They're doing whatever they can to turn our country into the third world hellhole that they came from. We are different. We want a great country, not a third world country. These foreigners don't understand what this country stands for. This country owes you nothing but an opportunity to succeed. It doesn't owe you a handout. Islamist immigrants come to this country with a sense of entitlement. And that's what this country is not about. We'll give you a hand, but not everything. They believe the American people owe them something, and we don't owe anybody anything. They take advantage of our system. If this is your attitude, we don't want you here. We want you to help this country become better. The Somali population in Minnesota, as we've been watching on the news for the last few days, is an example of a group that thinks they're entitled to take anything they want from the American people and force Americans to bow to their will. Somali immigrants in Minnesota were recently caught stealing more than $1 billion and counting from American taxpayers. Stealing. They pretended to be using the money to feed children or help people with autism, but really they were stealing. They were stealing the money and sending it to terrorists in Somalia, all proven. This is pure evil, and it's straight from the pit of hell. Terrorists are driving around in Toyota Land Cruisers in Somalia, bought and paid for by the American taxpayers. Fox News recently reported that members of Minnesota's Democratic Representative Ilhan Omar's inner circle, people working for her, were personally profiting from this fraud. Omar held at least one event at one of the restaurants named in the massive fraud scheme. And by the way, one Congresswoman, Omar staffers, has already been convicted for his role in the fraud. It runs very deep. All of this is taking place inside of Omar's congressional district, and she's doing everything she can to defend these Somalia criminals. These people were empowered by woke and clueless so-called Governor Tim Walz, whose government handed the funds to these Somalia criminals, turned a blind eye. For example, one of the scams run by the Somalia nonprofit disguised itself as a housing assistant program. Sounds great. The initial budget for this program was $2.6 million. However, the annual budget quickly increased to over $100 million due to fake billing and fraud. And whose money is that? The American taxpayers. There were red flags all over the place. Tim Walz had every opportunity to see this, investigate, and stop this fraud and corruption. Instead, he looked the other way. That makes him complicit. He should go to jail for this. Anybody else would. And now he's trying to deflect by calling those who are angry about the Somalian fraud racist. Sure they do. That's the word they always use. This has nothing to do with racism. Somalia immigrants stole more than $1 billion and counting from the American taxpayers. Again, proven. That should make every single American's blood boil. Democrats invite terrorists from all over the world into this country. They let them steal our benefits, enjoy our schools, overrun our hospitals, vote in our elections, and then steal our tax dollars to send back to their home countries to fund terrorism. By the way, I've seen all of these woke Democrats like Omar calling Somalia a wonderful place. If it's such a wonderful place, why doesn't she move back? If Somalia is all that, why is the terrorist group Al-Shabaab murdering Somalian civilians by the masses? And why is the capital of Somalia considered to be one of the most dangerous capitals in the world due to frequent terrorist bombings, targeting killings, and ambushes? That sounds like a place no one would ever want to visit or live. Predictably, Somalians often flee their country, and woke Democrats welcome these often unvetted individuals with open arms to the United States through illegal programs. But they make no attempt to adapt to the way in our American lives. Instead, they try to turn whatever American city they are hiding out into Somalia 2.0. Thankfully, the Trump administration is working around the clock to reverse the evil open borders agenda that was allowed to thrive under Joe Biden's administration. Look, despite what the woke media will tell you, President Trump is not anti-immigration. President Trump is incentivizing and welcoming immigrants into the country who are going to come here to contribute and assimilate and love our country like we do. That's what we're all about. And if that is not you, if they don't want to do that, again, we don't want you here. The Trump administration has worked tirelessly this year to arrest and deport millions of illegals brought into the country by the Biden administration. Patriotic Americans are thankful for the work with DHS and ICE of what they're doing to clean up our streets. If we don't take this threat seriously, more terrorist attacks will take place, more stories of third-world Islamists defrauding our country and using tax dollars to fund terrorism against the United States will become commonplace. DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, released a report not long ago about the imminent threat of terrorism that is facing our country. It's here. The recent terrorist attack in D.C. may just be the beginning of Islamic plans to destroy this country. The 29-year-old psychopath who did this should be hung in the streets. We need to send a message to every terrorist hiding out in this country just waiting to attack. We're not going to put up with this nonsense. You will be punished to the fullest extent of the law if you commit violence against American citizens. It's time to wake up, and it's time for all Americans to speak up. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an American issue. That's why I raised hell when I heard the Islam Academy of Alabama was looking to build a bigger campus in Hoover, Alabama just last week. You know, I looked at their website. They openly admit that they teach the Quran. The Quran teaches that it is righteous to kill anyone who is not a Muslim. Think about that. The media is calling me a racist for calling this out. Radical Islam isn't a race. It is a political ideology, and it is a cult. So no, I'm not a racist, and people back in Alabama agree with me. I was proud to see hundreds of Alabamians show up to protest at the zoning meeting where the building proposal was being considered. I was asked about it, and I said the only place this Islamic Academy should be moving is out of Alabama and out of our country. We don't want that taught. Come here and assimilate with our laws. Go by our laws, nobody else's. As a result, this Islamic school withdrew their proposal. This is an example of what's going to take to defeat this poisonous ideology. This is an example of what we do not want to deal with. It's going to take all of us, red-blooded Americans, coming together and saying enough is enough. Europe has lost the war of immigration. It is no longer recognizable in a lot of the countries in Europe. Mass immigration by Islamists has ruined their way of life. They turned a blind eye, like we are at the moment, and are going to have to fight in the streets to get their countries back. It's coming. And that is exactly what's going to happen in this country in a few short years if we don't act now to save our country and our way of life. I achieved the greatest honor of my life this year, receiving the title of grandfather to Rosie Grace, my first granddaughter. And I want her to grow up in the same America that I had the opportunity and privilege to grow up in. If we don't stand up now, our grandchildren's future is going to be lost forever. We have to draw the line in the sand. You're either an American who loves this country or you're not. It is the job of the DOJ, the DHS, the FBI to arrest these people, these terrorists, these radical terrorists, and either put them in jail or send them home. Now's the time. We do not need to let the clock run out on us. Let's do not be Europe. Next year may be too late. Mr. President, I yield the floor.